Ever found yourself in an argument you couldn't win? Even though deep down you know you might be wrong. Today, I'm going to give you the inside scoop on how to win any argument, even if the odds aren't in your favor. After reading some of the best books on negotiation and persuasion, I've uncovered 10 key techniques to help you come out on top, and they're surprisingly effective. Step 1. Control the tone and set the mood. First off, control the tone. Arguments often escalate because of the emotions involved. If you're getting visibly agitated, your opponent will feel validated in getting worked up too. But if you stay calm, collected, and even friendly, it throws them off their game. Remember, when they raise their voice, you lower yours. For example, let's say someone is upset with you for being late. Instead of snapping back or trying to justify it, keep your voice steady and say, "I understand why you'd feel that way." This approach shows empathy, which naturally de-escalates tension. People are wired to react to others' emotional cues, so keeping your tone calm can help steer the argument away from becoming a shouting match. Step 2. Don't attack. Lead them to the point. Instead of going straight for a counterattack, try leading them toward your point through questions. Questions have a unique power in an argument. They make the other person engage with their own logic. Let's take an example. You're in a debate with someone about productivity methods. They might argue that rigid routines are essential, while you think flexibility works better. Instead of saying, rigid routines don't work for everyone, try, why do you think routines work so well for productivity? Do you think they might have any downsides? This subtly shifts the conversation, encouraging them to consider your perspective without feeling attacked. Step 3. Bring in relatable analogies. Analogies are one of the best tools for making complex or abstract points accessible. People understand and relate to comparisons because it simplifies the argument, making it easier for them to accept your viewpoint. For instance, if you're debating a topic like why a particular policy doesn't work, you could say, "It's like trying to water a plant with a fire hose. Too much of a good thing can sometimes be harmful." It gives your argument a visual that sticks in the mind and gently nudges them to see things from your perspective. Step 4. Subtly shift the focus if you're losing ground. If you feel like you're on the verge of losing, one classic technique is to subtly shift the focus. Bring up a related point that's easier for you to defend and steer the conversation there. Imagine you're in an argument about whether remote work is more productive than in-office work. You might feel like they're starting to sway you with statistics about in-office productivity. At this point, you could steer the conversation towards benefits like work-life balance or environmental impact. Say something like, "I think the real question is how remote work improves work-life balance. What do you think?" They'll likely follow you down this new path, giving you a chance to reclaim control over the argument. Step 5. Use confident, specific language. One way to immediately make yourself seem more convincing is to avoid phrases like "I think" or "I feel." Instead, speak in absolutes like "this is the case" or "this is the reality." People interpret confident language as truth, even if the information isn't fully accurate. Let's say you're discussing climate change, but you don't have all the facts handy. Rather than saying, "I think climate change has a significant impact on natural disasters," say, "Climate change is directly increasing the frequency of natural disasters." This change in wording gives you an air of authority. The more confidently you state something, the harder it becomes for others to challenge it, especially if they're also unsure of the facts. Step 6. Empathize, then refocus. Acknowledge the other person's feelings or points, which gives the impression that you're open-minded. Then redirect the conversation to your main argument. People are more receptive to your point of view if they feel you've genuinely considered theirs. In a disagreement about finances, if your friend thinks spending on luxury items is wasteful, acknowledge it by saying, "I get why saving for practical things is important." Then, you can bring it back to your perspective with, "At the same time, I think spending on things you love can be fulfilling. Don't you think personal happiness is worth investing in?" This way, you've shown empathy without conceding ground. Step 7. Stay consistent and avoid backtracking. Consistency is key. If you're flip-flopping or second-guessing yourself, it gives the other person an opening to capitalize on. Once you pick a stance, stick with it. It doesn't mean being stubborn, it means being clear in your position. For example, if you're arguing that exercise is essential for mental health, don't switch to arguing that it's just one of many ways to stay healthy. If you waffle, you're giving your opponent room to undermine your stance. Consistency makes your argument appear more structured and credible, which makes it harder for someone to poke holes in it. Step 8. Use evidence sparingly but effectively. When we flood someone with information, it can actually weaken our argument. Even if everything we're saying is true, too many details can overwhelm or confuse the listener, making it hard for them to identify the core message we're trying to communicate. Instead, selecting 1 or 2 compelling pieces of evidence can streamline our point, making it easier for the audience to grasp and remember. This approach works particularly well in debates or discussions where emotional responses are strong, as it allows you to avoid defensiveness and focus on your key argument. By presenting evidence as if it's straightforward and non-contentious, you subtly convey confidence and authority, signaling that the information is well established and broadly accepted. Let's say you're in a discussion about technology's impact on society, and someone argues that technology is ruining human interaction. Instead of listing every study ever conducted, you could cite one strong study that shows how tech has also improved accessibility and connection. A concise, credible source gives weight to your argument without bogging it down. Step 9. Let them have small wins. One underrated tactic in any argument is to let the other person win on minor points. It shows that you're reasonable and willing to listen, which can make them more open to conceding to your larger points. If you're debating the best way to approach a project and they insist on a minor detail you don't really care about, just let them have it. For example, "Yeah, I agree using that tool could speed things up." They'll be more inclined to consider your perspective on bigger issues, feeling like it's a balanced conversation rather than an all-out battle. Step 10. End on a collaborative note. Wrapping up with a collaborative tone can leave a positive impression, even if the argument was heated. Phrases like, "I think we both made some good points," or "It's interesting to hear your take on this," imply respect, which helps maintain the relationship afterward. For example, if you were debating the best productivity tools, you might end with, "Maybe I'll try your method for a week and see how it works. We might both find some middle ground here." This ending allows both of you to walk away feeling heard, with the possibility of continued dialogue in the future. Winning an argument, especially when you're not entirely in the right, is about more than just being right. It's about playing the game with finesse. By keeping your tone calm, using powerful analogies, leading them with questions, and showing empathy, you can masterfully navigate any discussion. Remember, arguments don't have to be about winning in the traditional sense. Sometimes they're just an opportunity to connect with someone on a different level, even if you both walk away with the same opinions. If you found these tips helpful and want more insights like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a video. Let's keep improving together.